Thank you. Take it away, Sangeeta.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first session of the year for Cisco Women in Technology. This is a session that generally runs for Cisco internal only, and once in a while we do open up sessions for external audiences. This is one of them. My name is Sangeeta Ramakrishnan, and I lead Cisco's WiT program. I'm also a distinguished engineer here in Cisco's Security Business Group and lead a team of amazing engineers. And yes, we are hiring. Before we start, I'd like to thank our executive sponsors, Shayla Shankar and Prabhat Singh and the Security Business Group for making these sessions happen, and our program managers, Joy Cook and Joanne Alvarado Dominguez, for putting this event together today. And just a couple of housekeeping items to go over, and Joy has posted these on WebEx chat, and she'll probably repost it so that the folks who just joined can see them too. Please make sure that you're muted through the session to keep the audio experience best for everybody. At around 12:40 p.m., we will open up for live Q&A for a few minutes. In order to ask questions to Radha, you can post your question here in the chat, or the Cisco folks, the WebEx team space to post questions in. Do wait for your name to be called by myself, and then you can unmute and ask your questions directly. Of course, keep your questions short and concise, please. Okay, with that, everyone, it is my pleasure to welcome Radha Basu, the CEO for iMerit and co-founder of the Anudip Foundation. Radha also had, besides her, great bio that you all seen and everything, I do want to say she also had a major role to play in Bangalore becoming the technology hub that it is in India. Radha helped launch HP in India, which was one of the first tech companies to bring tech work to India, and the rest, as we say, is history. I always wonder, without the great work that Radha did, the tech industry may not have been as successful in India as it is today. Radha has many, many firsts to her name, or many accomplishments to her name. I won't go through all of them, but she also helped take a company public in the US. So that is a pretty impressive accomplishment. And her dual role of both, corporate work and leading companies along with her nonprofit work always amazes me as to how she pulls off that. So that in particular stands out to me. Radha is also a friend and a mentor, so this event is truly particularly special for me. She inspires me not only because of her accomplishments, but also by how grounded she is and her humility. And you'll all see that over the next hour. With that, Radha, thank you so much for joining us and helping us kick off our program for the year. With that, Radha, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience with telling us a little bit about your career journey, your life journey, how you got to where you are today.
Thank you, Sangeeta. My goodness. It certainly doesn't help a lot to be humbled to hear that kind of introduction. But thank you so much. I really, this is not just a talk for me. It's a chat with you. And given that we hike together, we do a bunch of things together, and it's always it's a great happiness to me to be with fellow women engineers, and it's one of the groups I enjoy the most. So yeah, I will start a little bit with my journey. Rather than being a talking head, I thought I would share a little bit of my journey with some pictures that I've taken along the way. This one is from last year, February, in a place called Coldfoot, Alaska. I have to say, I'm minus 30 degrees at night at 2 a.m. is not the best time to take pictures, but the lights were so beautiful and it just kind of happened. But I wanted to start a little bit about my background. And oh, one thing I want to say that Sangeeta forgot, there is a Ramaswamy in the middle. And those of you who are from Indian names, I'm from the southern part of India. I'm Tamil, even though I have this Basu that I acquired through marriage, which is an Eastern Indian Calcutta name. So just wanted to tell you that because I'm very proud and very, very proud of my heritage. So I thought of walking you through this journey just to share. And by the way, I don't believe in saying this is the way to do it. All I'm doing is sharing my experiences, what makes me tick. And every person is different. And I believe that the things I'm going to share here, like what's my passion, and where did it start? I started my schooling in the southern, in Chennai or Madras then, was in an all-girls convent school. And I have to say, it did prepare me. If you see my knuckles, I think they still kind of have a little bit of that, the convent school, being naughty in convent school. I was put in the corner quite a bit. Really builds resilience, and you stand in the corner and you dream about all the things you want to do. It really is a very interesting thing. I would not advocate that to your kids or and stuff like that, but it certainly helped me to dream. Oftentimes I would do something, go in the corner, and then I wouldn't pay attention in the class, which wasn't good. But going from there, by the way, they grounded me beautifully at Good Shepherd Convent. Going to an almost all boys engineering college. Funny story that I stood for the engineering exam, and there were very few women. By the way, when I was there, 2,800 boys and 17 girls. Yeah, that was the ratio, 2,800 boys and 17 girls, almost an all boys. But I took the exam. My parents didn't know. My father was very strict, didn't know. And then I had this, I thought it was wonderful, but my picture came out in the newspaper, The Hindu, because I was the first woman to I guess, top that engineering admissions. And I spent most of that evening, rather than rejoicing, hiding the newspaper from my father, because I didn't quite know how to tell him I'd done this. But that grounded me. I have to say, my passion came from that for engineering. And till today, it also is true that most of my friends, all my friends from engineering, who I have kept in touch with right up to now, are boys. And so just in December, and Sangeeta knows this, believe it or not, this will really date me, was the 50th reunion of my engineering class. Yes, 50th reunion, ladies. So you can do the math. And there were 156 classmates who attended, and 156 after 50 years, about 72 spouses. And there's a picture, unique picture of the spouses, and I had one male, and that was my husband. And we made so much fun of him, but it was a lot of my friends are the boys from the engineering college. And it really shaped the way in my passion and shaped the way of how I love to work in this very equitable 50-50 kind of world. And then I left with $8, again, just applied $8. And at those days, you could only get foreign exchange of $8, and came to the US without knowing a single soul. And I'm sharing this not to say, oh, I'm so great, but it's you find your passion, nothing can stop you. So I came to the US, $8 in my pocket, didn't know very much what to do, didn't know a soul, ended up at USC, where I had the admission. I also had an assistantship, but they wouldn't pay me for 6 weeks after I landed. So I had to make do with $8 for 6 weeks. And that's where in adversity, or you innovate. So I was like, what am I going to do for food? Okay, so I went to the every department's sort of kickoff for the year. And they had free food. I'd wear an Indian sari, so everybody asked me about myself. I got quite famous on campus, and there were only 3 women in engineering at that point, and I was in the first batch of electronics, computer science, and biomedical, but first batch of biomedical and computer science for that matter. And so that was exactly 50 years ago this year. And so it was amazing. So I got a lot of free food. I put on about 13 pounds in that time. And at the end of the 6 weeks, I still had $4. And I felt like, okay, now I know exactly how to manage my money. And so I ended up doing a master's in computer engineering. There was no computer science and biomedical, and started the career in sort of looking at technology broadly for, I won't say humanity in that impact way, but sort of technology in a broad way. That became my passion, especially biomedical. And I would say the second thing I wanted to say a little bit about was resilience under fire. I tend to, again, I would not advocate it for people. I tend to like to be a little bit under fire. And when I really am, and iMerit's a lot like that. When things get really tough, you sort of say, go for it. We had combat COVID. Now we're going through combat tech layoffs. We actually have a code for it that I will not share. And it's called combat. Yeah, combat something. And because it's a set of our client acronyms. So we did combats and combat under the hardest situations. And the company and sort of resilience and grit under fire. This is a picture of Figueroa Hotel, a seedy place where I landed on my first day in the United States. And I was like, welcome to America with $8. And when you're down, pick yourself up. And I'll tell you one little story here. So I was trying to conserve cash, of course. And I was going from the hotel. I had to barricade the door. It was very scary. And to the university. And I think it was like 4 stops or 5 stops. And at the first stop, the driver said something to me on the bus. I didn't understand, and he threw me off at the second stop. I got in on the second stop, and he was asking me something about a quarter, and I didn't know, or a dime or something. I didn't know what that meant. He threw me off at the third stop. I got to the university free. That evening, I came back, all free, all the way. And so I spent nothing on the bus, nothing on transportation, kind of it took longer, but hey, resilience under fire, dust off and move on. I really believe in it. And sometimes I catch fire, so I would not advocate it for everybody, but it's kind of nice. And then from HP, 20 years, I joined in HP labs. So I worked in the labs, and then I went to the US, went into sales to learn about clients. And from there, I went into running the European medical products business. And then I had this amazing, amazing opportunity. I don't know if anybody gave it to me or I created it. I had a rip-roaring battle argument with my global head. Think about it, those of you at Cisco, right? Global head of all sales, services, solutions, international operations, Dick Alberting. And I was on a plane with him from Frankfurt to San Francisco, and I had a rip-roaring argument with him. I got off the plane, and he said to me, what is that country of yours doing? Blah, 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 blah. And I said, you don't know anything about India. It's the best, blah, whatever I said. There was no electronics in India then. And he said, okay, I'm going to give you 3 months off. Had a husband, had a child. And he says, go there, 4 months even, and see what you can do there. And you better come back successful. I was like, oh, okay. And that's what got me out to India. And then I set up Hewlett Packard India. At a time there was no, and I really mean this, is Infosys had just started, TCS had just started, and Wipro had just started. There was no real IT in India. Everybody thought Bangalore was a sleepy old town. And HP and Texas Instruments were the first two to start operations in India, and a wholly owned subsidiary. About 3 years later, we did multi-threaded Unix there, all of you operating systems folks. And the CEO came out Lou Platt, and he said, this is a jewel in HP's crown. And within 3 years, we were at 1,200 people, and this was a reunion that we did of my Stanford program at the Infosys headquarters. And we went from frugal innovation to global leadership to me. And that industry became a $100 billion industry actually 170 billion in 30 years. And I say this because I got an award. It was actually at 25 years, 1990. It was in 2002. I got an award both for Anudeep as well as, 2012 for Anudeep, and 25 years of being in the industry as well, and starting Hewlett Packard India. It was one of the most wonderful moments to see all my old friends. And in fact, on the 4th of February, I'm going to be on a panel, a keynote panel with Narayan Murthy, the founder of Infosys. And he and I have had some good dialogue, debates, arguments over the years. And I look forward to that on the February the 4th in India. The one other thing, and I know Sangeeta is looking at the time, but I love change. Every day, if I can have something change, I learn something new, I love it. And I went from corporate HP to SupportSoft to starting SupportSoft, which we took public. As I said, I was telling Sangeeta and Joy this. We took public in 2001, about 3 weeks before the dot-com bust. There had been the dot-com ramp up. Everybody was at, billions of, not billions at that time. Now everybody's $1 billion unicorn. At that time, it was all these people there were Super Bowl ads. People had raised so much money. And then the dot-com bust happened. And we really believed in Carpe Diem. And we took the company public 3 weeks before, got the public offering in, had the cash when the dot-com bust happened. And then the company really grew during that time, during the 18 months when no other company, after us, only one other company went public. I bring this up because before these events happening, I seem to have something that happens with nature. This is a picture, my husband, myself, on a 23-day Everest base camp trek. That is not Everest behind me. That's Pumori, my favorite mountain. It comes up like an inverted ice cream cone. And it was 23-day trek all the way up to 18,000 feet. I say this with a lot of humility because when you're there, you see the power of nature, and we're all little microcosm, and that's a very spiritual experience and makes you think about your whole career. I came back and I said to my CEO at HP, who I knew very well then, I said, Lou, I'm going to leave HP. And he said, your brain is addled because you went up to 18,000 feet. Come back to me in 2 months. And I did. And then I left HP, started SupportSoft, then we took it public on NASDAQ, and then sold it later, sold the enterprise side. The other, one more thing, and then I'll go into iMerit. The joy of risk-taking. This was another really important nature for me, and what should I say, fun with nature or adventure with nature, and that is we went to Antarctica. And this is, what struck me here is this risk that the penguin was taking, because these islands have no humans. And I was walking there, and I would walk a few steps, and so would the penguin, and then it would look at me. I called it a her, but I'm not sure. And then we'd walk some more, and she'd walk with me, and we'd look. And then this whole group on the left went away, and we walked a little bit more. It was almost like she was saying to me, take some risk. You've got this software company. You've been a public company CEO for 7 years. Come on, take some risk. Why don't you go do something in the nonprofit world? So I did. And And then this little penguin, this little big penguin, went off into the water. And I think she was thinking, why isn't this lady following me, or this creature following me into the water? And I felt a deep sense of wanting to do something different, and decided that the power of service and how do you take technology into service. This was the biggest cyclone. And you can actually see we're transporting food and stuff like that. And I'm standing there. You can't see me there. And we brought this in and helped. And at that time, I came across the Sundarbans and decided that my husband had just started a nonprofit called Anudeep, which is hugely funded, or it's supported, I should say, by Cisco for the last, I don't know, 12, 13 years, I think. And Tay and several people have supported this. Tay's come and seen the place. And so wonderful, wonderful support from Cisco. And during this Anudeep journey, which will now get me into iMerit, I realized, and Anudeep what is Anudeep? Trains people, young people from very low income backgrounds in technology, workplace readiness, and English. And then it's called Market Aligned Skills Training, the Anudeep. And the Anudeep works with employers and sets up these interviews, and people get jobs. And these are people, young people from the lowest income backgrounds, starting on the eastern region of the US, which wasn't really touched by the power of the IT revolution in India. Didn't go from, yes, you'd see it in Gurgaon and Bangalore and Chennai and all that, but didn't go into the tier 2 towns, and especially not to the young people. So we decided to take technology and use that to transform the lives of young people. Anudeep today has trained over 550,000 young people, about 70% in jobs, even more than that, at least that we could track. And about that's been about almost 15 years, 9 years ago. One of the centers, Anudeep has many centers all over India and in Bangladesh, and a few in the US as well. I decided to, but people were going into call center jobs, BPO jobs, etc. So I took a small subset, especially of women, in this very, very poor community called Metier Bruce, a number of them Muslim girls, and really decided to upskill them into digital jobs. It was a group of 38 people. And I was very fortunate to meet Pierre Omidyar again on a plane. We were delayed, and Pierre Omidyar, founder of eBay, and we got into this whole conversation. And he said, if you start this, I'll be a seed funder. So it's Pierre and I became seed funders of iMerit. To tell you the name, Merit had to come up with the name as Mass Employment Through Rural IT. Who knows? Anyway, the I is for innovation, in honor of Steve Jobs and all innovation. And so that's the genesis of iMerit. And iMerit really leapfrogged the industry. And I think of that as opportunities from diversity. And this is one of the first pictures there. So at this point, gives you a little bit of my journey and how I ended up with iMerit. But you see the difference here. This was iMerit when we started. And today, we are data intelligence for AI. We are absolutely a global AI data solutions company with about 6,000 employees, 54% women, have some of the largest clients in autonomous vehicles, fintech, AI in fintech, in medical AI, precision agriculture. I'll talk about this. And it is about creating data intelligence or AI data solutions. And I'll talk a little bit about that in this whole area. That is iMerit. So you see the journey that's happened, and you see that it is that passion and resilience and knowing that young people, by the way, 74% of our 6,000 plus employees come from low income backgrounds, marginalized, and they are in 10 centers in US, in Bhutan, and in India, US, Bhutan, and India. And a large number of our employees are in India. And they are outstanding. You know what the average age of our company is? You wouldn't know that looking at me. It's 24.3. And it's a very sassy workforce. And they'll say to me, they call me Dee, which is older sister. Dee, if it were not for you, it would be 23 and a half. And I hear this all the time from them. But that's iMerit. And iMerit builds this on the very much the premise that AI needs a continuous feed of high quality data, intelligence at large scale, especially as it goes into production. And the fusion of human intelligence and machine intelligence holds the key. Fundamentally believe in that. I've now switched to the AI world, okay? I fundamentally believe in it. We fundamentally believe, and anybody you speak to who is implementing AI now will tell you just robotic intelligence is not going to do it. In every field, one of the most advanced fields is autonomous vehicles. Edge case, we excel at edge case, anomaly management framework, things like that. You wouldn't have all that if it was all done robotically. So that fusion, that nexus of human intelligence and machine intelligence is what advances AI. But it has to be step by step. What we did 6 months ago through human work will be automated today, and the humans have to advance. So it's a step-by-step thing. So continuous skilling. We use pattern recognition for skilling as well. These are the areas we're in. Don't worry, I won't call it iMerit OS. I won't get into all these things, but I wanted to show you autonomous mobility, not just AV, ADAS, precision agriculture, things like that, mobility technologies, medical AI, geospatial, and tech, sort of the tech from whether it be social media tech, it could be security tech, etc., but all focused on AI. And we do 3 major areas: computer vision, video and image, document AI and NLP, and more recently, speech and audio AI. And what do we do? What does iMerit do? We're labeling, annotation, and anomaly management frameworks, edge cases, monitoring. Those are some of the things we do. And these are the industries, as I said: transportation, precision ag tech, medical, robotics. We do data warehousing stuff. A lot of this I'm showing you is computer vision, but we do a fair amount of work also in financial risk analysis using natural language processing, audio AI, for more recently, something that we're just getting into, and you all know this, ChatGPT is completely transforming customer success or customer care and not customer success, but customer service. Why is that doing that? Using the robotic intelligence, and there's a lot of audio AI there as well. So that's with the ASR and ChatGPT technologies and NLP, that's starting to transform. But I wanted to show you this because people only think about building the models and the products. That is, so the ML data ops and the model ops, you build the model and the product. But when AI goes into production, you need to monitor anomalies, edge cases, validation, test case scenarios, and that feeds back into, this is the infinite loop, into the models and the products. And a lot of our work is on the right side, though we do model labeling, model tuning for clients, of course. Key to what we do is 3 things: the fusion of technology, talent, and technique. And I won't get into this because now Sangeeta is ready with the questions, but we build a huge technology platform, bring in the talent, and the technique is the quality and precision. But I wanted to share this with you. Fundamental to iMerit. Why is iMerit unique and different? Where else are you going to find a tech company with 54% women, with 70+% from low-income, marginalized backgrounds, such a young workforce? We completely believe in this 2 feet planted firmly on the ground. I took this picture. This is a lady in our center in Bhutan. She's working on some of the most complex multi-sensor fusion, LiDAR, bringing frames together, 2D cameras, radar, LiDAR, all of this. And she's working on that. And this is little baby in her rucksack and not distracted. And we truly believe on this 2 feet planted firmly on the ground. Maniacal focus on client revenues. We're competitive like everybody else. Margins, EBIT, cash, fundraising. Our funders are Dell. I told you about Omidyar, Dell, and Khosla, and the CDC, or the Development Corporation. So that's the maniacal focus. We'll compete for every deal, but we do it with an inclusive workforce. And that's the 2 feet planted firmly on the ground. And nobody can ask us, which is more important? What do you focus on? They're 2 feet planted firmly on the ground, joined by technology. That is iMerit. With that, and this is our workforce, they're not defined by conventional degrees. A lot of our people come in without a graduate degree or without an undergrad. Many of them, 58% of them, while they work with us, become graduates. And one thing that defines the company is less than 10% attrition. And in a tech world, especially in India, where it's running 32, 36, 38% attrition, one of the things clients value the most about us is the fact that we have a high retention, 90+% retention in the company, and growth for people. And so that allows us we grew 80% during the COVID years. And yes, it's tough times now, but we're in combat mode. And we're going to go and kill a few things. No, I get a little bit combative. So Sangeeta knows this. So last one. 74% from impact backgrounds, 53% goes 53, 54. Today, I think more than 250 of the team leads, about 80% of the team leads come from the impact background. But look at the things that really makes a difference. 32% invest in mutual funds, 60% have improved sanitation and have brought in clean water into their communities, not just at home is their community. And for women, one of the most important things, this was a survey done by an external agency, 70% say that their family considers their opinion more seriously and they're part of decision making. And it is a huge step forward. I won't show you all this. These are just examples. But I wanted to end with this. We even have AI in sports. This is the markerless motion capture technology and big data and machine learning. We actually annotate through this. And it was used by the Chicago Cubs when they won their, it was how many years ago? When they won the World Cup, the World Series. And we're now working on it with cricket. Using big data. And I was jokingly telling the folks in India, maybe if you use us a little bit more, you will actually win a World Cup too. So this is great fun that we do and technology that optimizes winning. But I also showed you geospatial, cancer research, autonomous vehicles is one of our top technology focus areas. But I wanted to end with a lot of humility showing you this. This is the first set of women. In the first, remember I told you there were 38 people. About 90% of them are still in the company. And the thing that I will always remember and never, ever forget, no matter where, now we're thinking of 100,000 iMeriters blooming. But I will always remember that she said, before iMerit, I didn't think I could dream. We take dreaming for granted. We take hope for granted. And these women and a lot of the employees of iMerit dream, hope, not because of us. Don't think this is because of me or of our company, because they have the power in them. And they have, all you have to do is trigger it a bit and it comes out. I will stop with that.
You helped unleash that power, Radha. So that's oftentimes what's needed, right? I mean, people have the potential, but they don't always have the opportunity to bloom. So thank you for that. I'm always fascinated by your, not only 2 feet, both feet firmly planted on the ground, but they're also in different spaces in the sense of one is a very corporate, I'm going to win, I won market share, I'm going to make it happen. And the other is, but I'm going to do it right by the people. I'm going to bring more people in. It's about inclusiveness. That just blows my mind to see that sort of both
But
sides.
Sangeeta, don't you all think every tech company should look this way, right? I mean, why not? People say, oh my gosh, you're 50% women. And I'm like, have you seen the world recently? It's kind of 50-50. Why not tech companies? Why not? There's no reason in heck that it can't be the case. And there are a lot of companies working towards it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We all need to do better in that. Hopefully, folks are inspired by you, Radha, to take this and apply it. I know I always am inspired by you. So, tell me a little bit about, you have a career span of almost, 50 years, if we include your sort of graduate school time and everything. Obviously, the world has changed a lot, industry has changed a lot, technology is changing very rapidly. How do you keep up with technology transitions and all the changes that go on? Because that's something seems to be key in order to stay for longevity in the industry.
Yes. I think that, I said in one, I love change, right? So, and I love technology. So the way to sort of keep in touch with technology is keep trying it, keep learning it. And really fundamentally, I feel every day that something new is happening. And so I'll give you an example. I'm only bringing this up, not that it's the biggest thing in the world, but medical AI, right? How AI, medical technologies have changed since I worked in the medical products group of Hewlett Packard. I ran the European medical product group. It's changed so much. But when you look at like ultrasound imaging technologies or training surgical robots, or more recently, like ChatGPT, I like to go and really kind of get my hands and feet wet and work on it. And I think to some extent, if you embrace change and you believe that change is going to be your best friend and it's all changing, so you need to change with it. I think if I didn't learn these new things, I would kind of feel, I don't know, bored or not bored, but sad, I think, and I'd feel like the world is leaving me behind. I don't know, Sangeeta. It's kind of hard to answer. But that's, I would say, is that balance, right? If you see the 2 feet and you're joined by technology, without technology, I think science is in every breath. Every breath we have has science in it. And everything we do has some element of tech. It pervades us. So I feel like I'm so far in a way behind that. I don't know so many things. So I have to keep learning it.
Looks like you stay hungry for knowledge.
It's a good word. Good word. Yes.
So what advice would you give women that are looking to go through the ranks into, say, leadership roles? What specific advice would you give them?
As I said right in the beginning, and you know me, I don't feel like I should give advice. All I could share is experiences, because each person, right, takes that and molds it for themselves. But I would say passion, risk taking, um, sort of what's the worst that could happen? Can do, right? Oftentimes I find I speak to a lot of women forums and engage with a lot. I find that the intelligence is there, the eagerness is there, but there's a bit of reticence to, can I really do that? Should I speak up here? Should I express myself? How many times have you been in meetings where somebody has said something, it was right on your tongue to say? And the other thing is, ladies, what's the worst that could happen? Ladies and gentlemen, I see some gentlemen there. What's the worst that could happen? You know, kind of screw up and you dust off and you move on and you learn from that. I think that ability to really value, pardon my French, screwing up, you know, to make mistakes, that has to be part of our learnings. If we don't, and I give you so many times, I have so many bruises and scars from that. But man, do they build tough skin, grit. So I would say, you have ideas, go for it. What's the worst that can happen? You don't get the leadership position that you're going after. It gives you a real opportunity. Don't blame that on somebody else. Real opportunity, look at yourself in the mirror and say, what can I do better next time I go for this? These were the areas of not the best things I do, but the areas of improvement for me. I had a VP. It was my last. It was the not Dick Alberting, but not the global VP, but he was head of all of solutions. I used to run enterprise. I created enterprise solutions at HP grew it from $100 million to $1.2 billion, a global group. And my boss then was an ex-Marine. Kind of, I'm 5'3" and he was like 5'4", but solid guy. Man of few words. I remember his first evaluation, you all know performance appraisals. I had nothing in it, nothing. It was like, okay. And then this one page of things I had to improve on. I looked at it and I was like, oh, crud, this is the worst evaluation. And then I looked and it was a performance band 5. And I'm like, Mike, what is this? And he goes, why do I need to tell you what things you do well? Why do you need to focus on them? Just continue doing them well. Most important for you is to look at it every quarter, a way you can improve. That became a mantra for me. And I still do it. I write down every quarter something I can do better, and then look back on it and say, or some set of things. There's so many things I can do better. And I pick a couple of things. So don't be afraid. Go take risk and always think about what's the worst that could happen and weigh that versus taking the risk. I don't know, works for me.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, many of the things you mentioned definitely resonate, right? How many of us had things at the tip of our tongue but didn't say it, and someone else says it. So, you don't get the
Sangeeta,
credit.
I can add one more thing.
Uh-huh.
Don't be reticent to go for mentors. You know what happened to me at HP, but that was also the old HP culture. It was the time when David Packard was still, you remember the MBWA, management by wandering around? Mm-hmm. That's still one of the tenets of in iMerit. In my previous company I took public, is management by wandering around. And I came across, I was pretty young at that time. I guess I'm still young, but I came across David Packard, and and those were open offices. I wandered. He wandered around. I wandered in his office. And I was like talking to him about all kinds of things. He was at a division review where I had presented. So it's like, okay, what happened to that product line, etc. And something that he said, well, how do you want to develop? Do you want to be an engineer? I said, no, I want to get into sales. He's like, what? Indian woman in sales. And I was like, yeah, if I don't know what customers want, I don't know what they want, I don't know what to do. So, and the job they had was I was ultrasound imaging. I was in R&D and was in the southern sales region of the United States. Can you imagine me? Southern sales region at that time, it wasn't as open as it is today. And anyway, it was a great experience. I took it. And somehow at that point, and what happened was because I knew the product so well, the sales guys didn't. We partnered, and we became the best district in the country, and it was a great learning experience. But then I asked David Packard, I don't know what made me ask him this. I said, Dave, will you be my leader mentor? And I think it was the first time an employee had come up to him and said, Dave, you're only the CEO and chairman of Hewlett Packard. She wants you to be. So he looked at me and he said, he actually told me this. He said, you know, you have crazy ideas. The last time you wanted to get into sales. Now you remember. He says, okay. And this is before I started Hewlett Packard India, and I had that whole encounter. The reason I bring this up is, again, please don't take this as something I'm like, oh, I asked David Packard to be my mentor. All I want to show is go for it, ladies. Go pick who you want to have as a mentor. Again, what's the worst they can say? Say, I'm too busy. I don't want to. They don't respond to you. It's okay. It's worth a try. Get a mentor you can talk to, you can be really open with, and go take whatever risk to do what you want to do, your passion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Radha. Folks, we'll open it up to questions. Jasmine, do you want to unmute and ask your question? Jasmine Cornejo.
For some reason, I just kept saying that I couldn't unmute. Yeah, I was just curious about ag tech. Like, what specifically? I know that you like really quickly flipped through that slide, but if you could just elaborate on like what ag tech is. I come from a very agricultural area of California. That's where I was
Yeah.
raised, so
Oh,
I'm just
great.
curious.
So it is. So we work with people like John Deere, Bosch, etc., where you put it's sort of the sensors and the interaction with picking up the data from the sensors. The sensors could be what is the exact amount or the precision amount. It's called precision agriculture, Jasmine. What's in order to really increase productivity, reduce crops from getting diseases and things like that, and knowing which part of the land you want to stop and kill so that the disease doesn't spread. What is the right amount of fertilizer, water, all of those things, when do you plant, etc. These are sensors, and they're put into the precision agriculture vehicles, as well as there are geospatial images of that. And we use that to be able to train models to help people in agriculture, farmers, etc., with this data intelligence. So they call it's important as we get more and more into food scarcity and being able to get multiple crops out of a land and those kinds of things. This is called precision agriculture.
Thank you. That's pretty.
By the
That's
way, it
pretty
is being used in the Central Valley as well. Yep.
Jasmine is going to be on the lookout for it. Jacqueline, you had a great question too. Do you want to go ahead with your question?
Sure, I had several, but I don't know which one to choose.
Go for it.
First of
It's okay.
all, it was excellent. You are a legend, and an excellent example of a groundbreaker. So thank you for this. I wish we can have you on again, because I'm sure you have more to your story. Do you have a podcast or a blog in particular that you can recommend if you don't?
I don't. I plan to. But
Okay.
I tell you, there's a couple of iMerit people on,
Mhm.
and I just it's a 24/7
Okay.
job right now, and if I balance that with um, I love hiking and trekking and doing different things. Don't have a. I've been thinking about it, and I've been asked like probably 100 times. So
Okay.
yes, watch for, and I will
I
let you
will.
ladies know. We
Okay. Do you recommend
would
any
be more a
particular?
podcast because I'm kind of like
Okay.
a
Yeah.
moving around kind of person. I don't know if it'll come out in the blog, so it'll be a podcast. Yes, in fact, two of my board members are working on creating a podcast for me. It's a good way to use your board, huh?
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent.
Wow, great timing with that question, Jacqueline. I didn't know
Thank
that I
you.
has an upcoming
Thank you, Sangeeta.
podcast. Very cool.
Yeah.
We'll all be
Thank you
looking
for
out for
asking
it.
that, Jacqueline. That's very nice of you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
yeah. Any other questions, folks? Feel free to ask. Otherwise, I can also ask from some of the questions that came in via
Come
registration.
on, there must be more questions.
Yes. I actually have one more, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Thank you for sharing your beginning story with America, right? I'm very proud myself as Nigerian and African American. So what roadblocks did you encounter in the male-dominated field, and how did you overcome those barriers?
So I think the first one actually started in India, right? If you're in a university that's 2,800 boys, and I call them boys because that's what they were at that time,
Okay.
and 17 girls, you kind of encounter every possible thing that people don't believe you can do engineering, and they make fun of you, they write about you on the walls, I mean, all kinds of things, right? And it humiliates you sometimes, and then you see, I have 24 friends from then I've stayed friends with for 50 years. We're family friends, all boys, young, older gentlemen today.
Yeah.
And I learned through that, through their support, their sponsorship, their ribbing me, to kind of not take things too seriously. We have differences. I really believe that we're different in like Mars and Venus, right? That whole book about it. We are
Mhm.
different. We look at things differently. And I learned not to take things too seriously and not attribute my failures to male domination, and kind of learn to hold my own, to joke my way, not joke, but kind of humor my way through it, call people on it if that was
Yes.
happening,
Yeah.
call people on it,
All people on it. Yeah.
and then, but at the same time, don't get into a fisticuff with them.
Right.
Call people on it and humor your way through it and say, hey,
Yeah.
I can
Ver-
really help you be a little bit nicer at home
Yes.
to your. I told one person, I said, yeah, I could really help you be nicer to your wife and 3 daughters at home. And he
Yes.
goes, you could really. And so we actually became friends. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit of not taking myself too seriously, and I don't know, that has helped me a lot, and but I
Excellent.
call people on it, so
Yes. Excellent. Thank you. That's confirmation. Thank you. Thank you, Sangeeta.
So I know, Radha, we're almost out of time. A very quick question. How did you decide to build this nonprofit? And, was the idea very clear in your mind? Did you know what you were doing? What about funding? How did you raise funds for the nonprofit? These were some of the questions that came in also through our registration process.
So first of all, let me be very clear. iMerit is a for-profit impact company, equity funded by Umidyar, as I said, Dell, Khosla, and 3 tech stalwarts, and the CDC. And as I said earlier, because of SupportSoft and having sold the enterprise business, I was fortunate to be able to be a seed funder here. Anudeep, which is the nonprofit, is the one that actually was started by my husband. He was at Cisco for many years. And as I said earlier, and I still joke with him about this, I said, you left Cisco 15 years ago, and I think you're still a line item at Cisco for funding. You still get something from Cisco in every venture you're in, not just for Anudeep. He now runs he started something called Vispala. Now Anudeep is so big, he brought in a new CEO, and it continues beautifully. This lady who has taken over from him, and he started a low-cost prosthetics, 3D printed prosthetics company. And one of the first funders of that was Cisco. But anyway, nonprofits are, for me, it was a big change. It always been in the for-profit environment. And I think the thing that we did a little differently was we truly believed that to scale a nonprofit, remember, Deepak and I are both from the technology capitalist world. You start a company and take it public and sell it, you're very much in the VC world. Axel and SoftBank were my VCs at SupportSoft. So we always believed to scale a nonprofit, you have to you can't be every year depending upon people to give you grants. You have to become self-sustaining. You have to really grow it. So early on, we went into this market-aligned skills training, not just skilling people for the sake of skilling, but driven by, in that case, the client is the employer. So we would go out to employers, get that in. That really sparked this ability, especially for women, ability to get them into jobs, which was, at the end of it, you skill a person and they don't have a job, they feel even more depressed than they were earlier. So that, I think, caught the attention of a lot of tech companies. I mentioned Cisco, but Cisco, Accenture, Capgemini, all kinds of companies that came in. So we had a lot of corporate funders. And of course, when I started iMerit, the agreement with Omidyar Network was they would equally fund the nonprofit and the for-profit, because a lot of the people iMerit hires are people trained by Anudeep. Now we have trained Anudeep to have AI courses, all kinds of things. So that worked. We only take maybe, they've trained 500,000 people. We have 6,000 people employed. So they have a lot of employers who they work with, but that market aligned part allowed us to get a lot of funding. So in a way, I think our capitalist approach actually helped. And the other thing is, Sangeeta, you said, how did we raise funding? It was like shameless. This thing I was in, or Deepak was in, we would talk about Anudeep. And people would say, really? You're doing that? Shamelessly. We would go anywhere to raise funds. eBay. I think pretty much I wouldn't say every, maybe 50, 60% of tech companies in the Valley at some point or the other funded Anudeep. So, it's a shameless thing. You're very proud of it and you go for it. And what's the worst they could do, right? They could say no.
Exactly. Yeah. So
What's the worst they could say no? Yeah.
So the sales skills from corporate also reapplied to fundraising for nonprofit.
But I will say this on that fundraising. Oh my gosh. I will give a lot of kudos, or kudos is the wrong word. I never give kudos to my husband. I would say a lot of good things about Deepak and his very low key. He's not like me. He's not like, like he's like low key. And oh my gosh, he can fundraise for the nonprofit so well till today.
He's an amazing person too.
Put up with me, right? Yes, Sangeeta.
Oh, no, I didn't mean it that way at all. So with that, I notice we're at the top of the hour. I know, Radha, you have other commitments, I'm sure, to get to, and so do our attendees. So with that, we should wrap today. Thank you so much, Radha Ramaswamy Basu, for being our guest today. So excited to hear about all the things that you're doing at iMerit and the Anudip Foundation. You're changing lives, and people are so inspired. I'm getting a lot of chat messages both here and private messages. So thank you so much for spending your time and energy with us today. I hope you all enjoyed learning from Radha as much as I did. And she's inspiring us not just to make further progress in our careers, but also to look for ways to give back to society. And she's a master class in how to do it all while staying humble and grounded. Very thankful for this great way to start the year for Cisco Women in Tech. Thank you so much to all of our volunteers who help make these events happen, and of course our program managers. And finally, attendees, thank you for joining. Do join us, do follow us on LinkedIn. Our handle is Cisco Women in Technology. And please look for a survey email from me. We appreciate all of your feedback. Thank you, and watch for announcement for our next events.
Thanks.
Radha.
Thank you so much, all of you. Just thank you for